Travis and Victor, they sit down to chat with a coffee in hand and a book in the flat. They stumble through pages, misread every line, but laughter erupts, oh, they're doing just fine. It's all in the fun, no need to impress. Three best friends making a literary mess.
When this one gets posted.
Hey, thank you guys for having us. We're excited. This is going to be just a chill conversation about all things books. You guys gave us no prep, no topic. You got the right guys. We're just going to ramble.
Perfect. Yeah,
Perfect. That's what we were going for.
Project Ramble. I think that has a nice ring to it. That'll
Maybe
be our
5 to
collab.
ramble?
5 to ramble. Yeah.
5 to ramble on this one. It reminds me of like when The Sweet Life of Zach and Cody would collab with Hannah Montana and all those other shows.
Yeah.
You remember those?
Crossover
When they
event
went
of the century.
Of course.
I remember that, but Rich was a PBS kid, so I don't think he can relate as much. But
Hey,
I
would watch it when I would go to a hotel. That's the only time.
Shout out Caillou.
Yeah. Oh, jeez.
Yeah. That is
Lord.
hilarious. So, I guess we just wanted to start. We just wanted to hear a little bit about you guys, how you guys got started, and kind of your origin, how you guys know each other, things like that.
Yeah, like you guys, I listened to one of your episodes. You were talking about your college buddies. You guys met freshman year, right? Or was it later on?
Freshman year.
Freshman year.
Freshman year.
Yep.
Same for
Too
Rich
long
and I,
ago.
Exactly. You guys are you guys late 20s, early 30s?
Yep.
Late 20s.
Late 20s.
Yeah.
Okay.
The 30s is 30's about a deep breath away. So.
Okay.
And a little worried.
Rich and I, we met freshman year of college. I was roommates with his high school friend. And so he came to our dorm, and that's how I met Rich. And at the time, we were not fantasy book readers. We were just acquaintances. Like, hey, I was friends with his high school buddy. And eventually by like sophomore year, his high school friend left the college. So he had nobody left except me. So then I stole the place, and then we ended up just hanging out more. Rich, correct me if I'm wrong, our first big thing was that we just started doing poker nights together. And
Nice.
oh yeah, one of my buddies bailed on a poker night. So I called up Rich. I knew he had an apartment. I said, hey, can we host a quick poker night at your place? He said yes. And from then on out, we just had like a weekly group that played poker in college. And then COVID hit. We started reading fantasy books. And then we were like, what are we doing with our lives? Let's make a podcast. Let's throw some money at this and just do the thing. And that's a really short version, but Rich, you could add some flavor to make that more exciting. But that's kind of how we got here.
Yeah. Basically during COVID, after college, I had a job doing like security work, but at like a data facility. But my main post was like I'm in just a room, and I'm waiting for people to, I'm clearing people in and out of just. So I'm at a desk for 8 to 12 hours a day, and especially I think early on I was on the night shift, so nobody was there.
Okay.
So I'm in a room for 8 hours by myself, and not allowed any kind of phone, not allowed a phone, not allowed a laptop, nothing. So, only option was books. And Austin was given a book, The Way of Kings, by one of our friends. And he said, hey, check this one out. It's long. Maybe it'll get you through your shift.
It's a good pitch.
And that was quite literally the start of me buying every other book.
So you were not
started
reading before that job?
I read when I was in like middle school, and I stopped really reading for fun high school and college. I was a big reader early on, though. Before YouTube, I was reading all the time. Like I would have a book on my arm going through class to class because I had some book. But
we're so sorry to your viewers, but we're big advocates against podcasts and YouTube in general. Although we have a podcast, we're big advocates because at some point in high school or middle school, when we were introduced to our phones, we just stopped reading, and then we had to rediscover it because of Rich being in that unique situation. He got me to start reading. So, our MO is we're gonna make a podcast and hopefully get successful enough to where we get 0 viewers because everybody is reading instead. And
Oh, I like that.
I shouldn't act selfless. Like we actually do want to.
We want viewers.
Of course, yeah.
Of course, yeah. But it's nice to say.
The nobility of the statement is the important part of it. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It's the virtue signal. It's the important part of it.
Yeah.
Now, Rich, were you intimidated when you got handed The Way of Kings? I have to say, although we are a fantasy and sci-fi podcast, we haven't read any Sanderson, and I feel like that's almost a sin because I feel like he's well known in the fantasy world, maybe the guy. So were you a little intimidated when you got handed that? And should we read it?
I think you should read it.
Yeah.
I was a little intimidated by it, and especially when how many years goes by where I wasn't really focused on reading, and I remember when I first tried to start, every 15 minutes or so, I'd have to take a break. I couldn't focus for longer than 15 minutes on the book. And it took me a while to get through it. But I had nothing to do. I'm trapped in a room with the book. That's it. And so eventually my tolerance or my focus and attention gained where I could actually focus for long periods of time where I could just read for hours straight. But I would recommend it. I read the most recent book and not as pleased with the sort of semi-conclusion, but I think The Way of Kings is definitely worth it.
Okay. I have it. It's on the bookshelf.
Shot.
Give who?
Give Mistborn.
Mistborn?
Mistborn a shot, I think, is better starting point.
Okay. That's good, because whenever I see a Sanderson book... I get a little worried about that.
Pick the biggest, thickest book you can find, and you read that. And then once you've done that, everything else is small.
That's a good
way
point.
to look at it. Our big fear with Sanderson is that we're going to read it and people are going to be like, you guys are idiots and you missed most of everything that's going on in it. Because the way we talk about books is, and the whole point of our podcast is to talk about it like you're talking to your friends. And that's what we try to do. And we're worried that the depth of the Sanderson books is going to get us in trouble at some point.
Yeah, you don't have to worry too much about that.
That's great news.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sanderson, next book.
Yeah.
The magic can get kind of confusing because there's epigraphs and just random things you won't get or understand because it's building that. But the story itself it's very easy to follow. I'd actually throw in a suggestion of Mistborn's a great place to start. But if you guys want so little commitment, I always recommend, and Rich would probably agree with this too, Emperor's Soul is a novella of Sanderson's, and it's so you could read it in 3-4 hours, and that gives you a taste of, hey, do you like how Sanderson pays off a story? And the novella also is some of his best work that he has out there. So if you like that, and you can know, okay, that means you'll probably like Mistborn, you'll probably like Stormlight Archive, etc. But that's to give a low commitment for those of you who are going, I don't want to start a 1,300, 1,200 page book series, but each book is longer. So
yeah, I feel like that's a really helpful starting point. I feel like it's not just us. I feel like a lot of people will see the size of a book and immediately get turned off by it. Just the sheer commitment that it takes, and the fact that once you commit to that book, I personally can't read more than one book at a time. So it's like, if I'm doing this book, this is where my focus is, and could be missing out on some other good reads.
That's pretty fair.
Low commitment is good for us, I think. We will probably read that.
Yeah.
We get worried when we read a book and chapters are a bit too long. We like the quick stopping point. We're like, all right, I'm going to sit down, read 5 pages, finish chapter 1. Let's keep it moving.
We're getting better.
Gotta pick up on Red Rising then.
I would love that. Yeah.
That's actually
That's
how we started this. It was so Victor read Rising a long time ago and was like, he's our subject matter expert. He's the one who picks our books.
He's my Goodreads, our personal Goodreads.
Yeah, he runs the Goodreads account. That's
fair.
Yeah, so he was gotten to reading before kind of both of us. We did the same high school, college fall off of reading type thing. A couple of years ago, Vic was like, you guys got to read this. It's a very good book. You guys are really going to like it. Travis started it and texted me and was like, you gotta read this. I need someone to talk to about it. And I was like, dude, No.
Because
I wasn't good enough to talk to about it, I guess.
You have constant.
dude.
Yeah.
I was going through it, and I would be like, "This is going on," and you're like, "Is that before or after this happens?" I was like, "Well, that's a spoiler. Thanks."
So Travis kept texting me and said, "Dude, just read like 2 chapters for me, please." So I read 2 chapters, and now we've both read the whole first trilogy and talked about it with Vic in the group chat, being like, "Guys, I read it 5 years ago. I don't remember any of this." And we just kept talking about it. So then we were like, "What if we just meet once a week, start talking about it, and record it?" And yeah, so credit to Red Rising and Vic for getting us started on this.
All right, I'll take some credit. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
I will say, I do pick out some of the books that we read, but maybe the first time we took it to a vote, we ended up reading The Tainted Cup. Have you guys read The Tainted Cup?
No,
No.
but it was I believe it was second place on our book club for last month, or I guess for
Really?
this month. Yeah.
I'm
just
interested if you
barely
guys
lost
dive
out.
in. I'm interested if you guys dive in to see your thoughts, because we did not enjoy it too much.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Ooh. What?
Yeah.
Okay.
Without spoilers, what was your big problem with it?
Who wants to take that? So there is a without spoilers is tough.
Without spoilers is tough. It's very impressive you guys do all these reviews without spoilers, because that's why I didn't answer immediately. I'm trying
Without
to think.
spoiling it, I would say there is a bigger story going on outside of the protagonist that you follow along with, and the bigger story it's more interesting. You want to read about it, but there's no real conclusion for it in the book.
Okay.
And it's kind of like a letdown, I would say. It's one of those books that I don't think they landed the plane properly.
And the end of the book almost felt like it was setting up to, like, they want you to dive into 5, 6, 7 more of their whodunit books. You know?
Okay.
Mm.
Okay.
Well,
Is it one of those? Have you guys read Les Lockmore by chance? That
yeah.
book?
Yep.
Okay. Does it give you that feeling where Lockmore, he's just a small character in this much wider world and other stuff's going on, or is it much different than that?
Well,
just to give me a good
in the Lives of Loch Lamora, I feel like Scott Lynch does a good job of the world building around him. So, especially if you read the 3 books of the series, you get a much better idea of the world. And I forget the people that practice magic in that book, but you get introduced to them eventually. It feels like in The Tainted Cup, it's touched on of what the bigger issue is, and that's it. So it's like very minimal, like, here, this is what's going on, and then, you read 100 pages, and it's like, remember, this is still going on, and that's it. And you want to know more about it, but you don't really get it.
You know what I love, especially Rich. If we will read the book eventually, we end up loving it. We got to have you guys on so that we can have somebody that doesn't like the book, and that we do these. I'll give a hunch of the way the book was pitched to Rich and I sounds awesome. The premise sounded sick.
Ew.
Somebody pitched us basically saying like a tree grows out of somebody or something like that, and I went, "Whoa, that is a great hook." And maybe it will be disappointing. Now my expectations are set more properly. But Rich, if we end up loving it, that would be cool, because we don't get to have people on a lot where we're like going back and forth about a book that we love or hate, and then vice versa.
We would love that. And we were the same way. We read the summary. We were like, this is our next book. Like, we're excited for this. So we were kind of in the same boat before we jumped in.
We read after The Will of the Many too, so we were on a high.
Yeah.
So
All right. You did
into it
the
too.
Will of the Many, though.
That might have been a tough come down.
Yeah.
After The Will of the Many. Yeah.
When is that second book coming out? I think it's
May,
soon, right?
I think.
Is
soon.
it?
I think it's
I think it got pushed.
May?
It got pushed.
You can't just throw months
I thought it
around like
was
that
May.
without
You didn't tell me it
checking.
got pushed. This is on you as our book guy.
We'll start
strength
throwing
of you.
dates around.
I thought it was this year.
Yeah.
I thought it was this year as well, but I thought it got pushed.
Let's put a date out there. Put a little pressure on.
Yeah, come on, Austin. Come on, Jamie. You got
It's a bit of an unknown.
I've got the news right here. Okay, this is according to Google AI, so who knows?
Okay.
Okay.
This is
Totally
scheduled
factual.
for September 1st of this year.
Ooh, now I feel
Okay.
way worse.
Little Labor Day book.
I'm on
Yeah.
his website. It says, in terms of 2025, it's a bit of an unknown.
Ooh.
Okay.
Don't love
Okay.
to hear that.
We're getting some different sources here.
Yeah.
We'll see what's right.
Well,
His
this
own
is-
website or AI.
This is a good segue into a question we wanted to ask you guys. Will you
Yeah.
guys dive into a series knowing it'll never be finished? Or there's great potential that it'll never be finished?
Yes.
Yes?
Oh,
Yes.
okay.
Yes.
Reluctantly.
Yes.
That's
We
more
have
our
done it.
speed, is reluctantly.
Yeah.
Or not at
exactly.
all.
I'm a yes
Rich,
guy.
you
but
take this first. Rich, what do you think?
The two big ones that we've... So, A Song of Ice and Fire, I've already been spoiled from... Like, I haven't even seen the show, but I know all the spoilers, because people talk about me. I've seen clips. Like,
Mhm.
at this point, I know all the deaths. I know all the things. And so already and I already know how, season 8, garbage. My
Yeah.
interest in reading the books is low. And also
Okay.
I know it'll never be finished. I have very little reason. However, Bookborn convinced us to read it along with her and talk about it. So I'm like, okay, fine. We'll give it a shot because she wants us to do it and value her opinion. And she's going to reread Red Rising. So we'll be able to talk back and forth about it. But I was reluctant to do it. And then along with Name of the Wind, we started with the sole purpose of I reread it because I hated it and I wanted to confirm my hate. I needed to hate it more accurately. It's why it deserved a reread. And the same thing for Austin. It's like he has to read it so I can determine, is his opinion worth still having on the podcast? And thankfully he passed the test on that one and But other series, yeah. I don't want to.
For your viewers, by the way, Rich is well aware that Victor, right before this, said he loves that book so much. He got like a special edition. He had his mom read it to him, and it's his favorite book. And Rich knows full well he's poking the bear. This is
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Rich wanted to hang up. He wanted to get out of this podcast immediately when I said that. And I don't want this to turn into a Name of the Wind episode, but we could turn it into that if we wanted, because I think that's my favorite book. I think that's what got me into reading.
Vic's ready to stand 10 toes down for this book.
Well, have you guys both read it as well?
I have not. Yeah.
No? Okay.
Unfortunately.
It's
Now
one of
I
those-
really want to, though.
Yeah, Victor's fighting this fight alone right now.
It's one of those books that I don't want them to read because of this situation right here. When it's something that it's your favorite and then they read it and they're like, I don't really get it. And it's like, well, now I'm rethinking our friendship and a lot of other things. So maybe
Joe
don't read
moving.
it, guys. Yeah, Joe, don't move.
Give him appropriate expectations, I think.
Yeah. Okay.
Because I think Austin would have actually disliked the book a lot more if I didn't set his expectations properly. At least that's
Okay.
what you were telling me.
I would have given it lower than 1.5 stars.
I think so.
You think so?
Maybe I don't know how to
was
read.
Angry. I was angry at the end of the book. It pissed me off multiple levels of
It's,
yeah.
don't spoil for anybody. They haven't read it. Be careful.
Yeah, no spoilers.
This scathing review is making me want to read it really
Yeah.
bad.
Yeah.
I will hate read a book or hate watch a show. I have no problem with that.
It's making me want to reread it, and I might start scratching my head, thinking, "Did he know something? Like, was Rich right? Does this stink?"
The
I'm not
answer is yes, but it's fine. We can all
I was gonna
we're all allowed to be
Victor's not
wrong.
alone. This is a beloved book.
Oh, yeah.
Well loved. The prose is seen as immaculate.
Mm.
It is well loved. So this is a very much we are in the hot take. Victor, you are in the majority. So this is
Thank you.
And,
We
for your
only
viewers, just to clarify.
Yeah. I really like the prose. There's actually particularly one scene in the book that made me cry. It's one of my favorite scenes ever written in a fantasy book. That being said, I don't like any of the characters. I think the plot was interesting until the conclusion of this was a big letdown of a plot.
I give you that.
And then I think the theme and the morals of the story were just incorrect, and the author's wrong, and it comes across as a very negative message. But
If we're all just reacting to this,
you guys have to add visuals to your podcast because Victor's face right now is screaming help. So you guys gotta
screaming somebody jump in or change the topic because it's
so
I gotta
funny.
go reread it.
Actually, to ask to Joe and Travis here too. So it seems like Victor, you're read more buddies into reading with Red Rising and got more into books like that. You asked us the question about would we read a series that's unfinished, and my immediate reaction to yes was because this is a controversial one, but with the end of Stormlight Archive, again, not spoiling because that's the Way of Kings. Way of Kings, Words of Radiance, Oathbringer, some of my favorite books. But the ending was so disappointing that Rich and I had a conversation about would you rather have no ending or a disappointing ending to your series? And my answer is just going to be I would rather have no ending. I would rather be where we'll go. And for you guys, when you're starting a series, throwing it at you, because Joe and Travis, there's a lot of books that Victor's read you guys haven't. Would you do the same? Would you go, hey, I'm willing to do Name of the Wind even though it's probably not going to be finished? Because there's 2 of the books out right now. Is that 2 out?
Yeah.
What do you guys think? What would you do?
That's a great question. I would rather not have an ending than have a disappointing one. I wish Game of Thrones, I watched the TV show, I never read the books. I wish they never released that last season because I was disgusted with it, and I haven't watched it again since. So when you put it like that, I guess I would rather have an unfinished ending and make something up myself in my head that I can be happy with.
The same way. And it's the same thing with Game of Thrones when it just takes so long between where you've left off and where it's going to end. There's so many theories and things that you're thinking about and ways that you want it to end and that you make up in your mind, and then it doesn't end that way. It can be disappointing and ruin the entire series.
Yeah, I read 8 theories on Reddit that were better than what Game of Thrones actually put out for the last season. So, that's tough.
Do you guys think
a problem
George
with.
will finish? Oh, sorry, Rich. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I don't think they're ever finishing.
You don't think they'll finish? Yeah.
I think George R.R. saw that public reaction to the end, and he probably got nervous about whatever he did have written, and is not gonna. I wouldn't put it out at this point. It's like you guys were saying earlier about the tempering your expectation before you go into the book. At this point, it's been 14-ish years since he released that last book. People are gonna be they're begging for it, or they were begging for it. They might not be anymore. That the expectation is going to be so high that if you're not completely blown away by it, it's going to have an adverse reaction. I think.
So is the strategy he waits a full 20 years and the energy has died down. So when it's released, it'd be like people are like, oh, it's been out, okay, and then that way their expectations have now lowered. Is there a point where he just waits it out and the expectations drop again?
That's a great question too. I don't
know if that time frame exists.
I go immediately to thinking about Dune and Frank Herbert's son putting out posthumously putting out his books, and they didn't get a good reaction. So I think that his son, or I don't know if he even has kids, or if his estate will put it out after or something like that, but I just don't think there's ever going to end up being a good reaction to it.
No, I know, authors definitely go through stuff, people go through stuff, but I think once you wait a certain amount of time to release a book, especially if you had promised it, you're kind of setting yourself up for failure. No matter, even if the book is great, people are going to be critics of it because it takes so long. So the longer you take for something popular, it could be a masterpiece and people will still, I think, find an issue with it. With that said, I do hope these things release. I mean, I would want some closure on these stories.
Please finish your books.
Exactly. And that's especially if you say, hey, you give the expectation this is a series that finished versus this is completely different, but Top Gun Maverick movie. No one asked for a sequel to Top Gun. but they just gave it and you're like, oh, this movie's kick ass, great. But it's not like we were waiting for 40 years, going, when's the sequel coming out? If you
Exactly.
Again, expectations, going, hey, you started a series, we'd love for you to follow through. But again, that comes with the question: do authors actually owe us that? I mean, how does the author owe a completion of the series because they started to get you invested? And what's the right time to go? Okay, this is the year mark where I go, you're crossing the line. Is it like 4 years, 5 years? Who decides? I guess it's like the court of public opinion there at that point.
Yeah, I don't know. It's tough. Depends on the book, I'll say. It depends on the series.
Yeah.
Exactly.
A great
Just try
series.
not to make any authors mad.
Yeah, I really want Patrick Rothfuss to release Doors of Stone. So I'm trying. Take your time. As long as it comes out, I'm happy.
You guys had Nicholas Eames on, right?
Yeah.
For The King's Wild, because I think his book 3. I don't know how long it's been since his book 3. It's been a little bit, I think.
Been
right?
a little while. Yeah, we haven't read Bloody Rose though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He did tell us he's struggling with writer's block, and then when you talk to the author, then you're sympathetic. But then if you don't talk to the author and you're just dying for the completion of the story, then it's like grab your pitchforks. We're starting a mob here.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
We had him on. We had him on our podcast to specifically talk about what does author owe his readers and what do readers owe an author, just to see. And for his series isn't as big of Game of Thrones, Song of Ice and Fire, Name of the Wind, The King Philip Chronicles, etc. But nobody seems to be on him to go, where is it? Because I think it's how the author handles it. He just handles it.
That's true.
Going, hey, I'm struggling. I can't promise a deadline. But then when George goes, hey, I'm halfway through. It's coming out next year. Oh, no. Actually, the following. Oh, no, wait. And then that happens with Ruffus too. So it's more so the tease of getting your hopes up and then constantly going down. Whereas I think people like Nicholas Eames just are going, hey, I'm struggling. I'll let you know a date when it happens.
The way George R.R. comments on The Winds of Winter drives me crazy because he's like he's like, gee, I hope it comes out soon. And it's like, yeah, we do too, but you're the one in control of it, man. Publish it.
At this point, he has the money to just tell somebody to dictaphone it,
Yeah.
He talks about his whole process of he only types on this specific laptop that's super old or whatnot. It's not a typewriter, but it's
might as well be
Apple. He uses an original Apple some original Apple computer. I like the Apple II or something.
That's crazy.
That's his process, and I'm going, that's not a process. That's dumb. It's dumb and eccentric.
That's why it's taking so long. You can't save it. It's just constantly spinning.
It's too big.
I think
So you're running out of storage.
Plug that keyboard, if it's the keyboard that he really likes, plug that into a laptop and look at that. It's the exact same thing.
Yeah.
It's weird.
That is so
Imagine
funny.
that.
Oh my
He
god.
didn't finish because his document just didn't save. Because of the whole, that's
Yeah, that would be embarrassing if you didn't save something after working on it.
Oh, that's what's taking him so long. That's hilarious.
But at this point, he could hire a ghostwriter or someone to just help him continue writing it. And he could tell them the details, then he can edit and make sure it fits his voice. But I think you guys are probably right. He's just not going to finish it because the expectations are now too high, and there's nothing he could do.
Exactly.
Along with he's a pantser, so he writes just by the seat of his pants. He didn't plan out the ending very thoroughly, and so he just doesn't know how to wrap it up.
Most authors go the other way, right? They start with an ending and kind of work towards that. Is that right? Did I make that up? I thought I read that somewhere. Could have made it up though.
The general terminology is a pantser and a planner. So you're either a planner where you met.
George has George calls it the guard, the architect. Like George himself says that, but yeah, you're right. Pantser, plotter, that kind of thing. Yeah.
I don't
Stephen
know.
King has a famous.
What?
Oh, go ahead, Rich. Sorry.
No, I don't know how many. Do more authors fall on one side or the other?
I'm curious.
Sanderson in his lecture series, he usually says no one's like a true plotter or a true pantser. There are those types, like Stephen King has a whole On writing where he's a pantser through and through. But usually people plot something, still kind of go off course sometimes. So it's hard to find somebody that just sticks right to the script. Again, I hate it. All these conversations come back to it kind of depends, and that's boring. I'd like to give but
it's always the true answer is it depends, and it sucks.
Mm-hmm.
That actually brings me. So you guys have been critical of Victor's favorite book and a couple of other books that we've brought up. What was the first book that you guys were really critical about, and were you nervous about the internet reaction to it after that?
Great question.
Or if you don't remember the first book, just any book works, but I'm just curious about the commenters scare me, and I probably shouldn't tell them that out loud. But
Holy Joe.
Joe, I thought you were gonna ask them for their least favorite book, and I'm trying to avoid that question. God forbid it's The Name of the Wind. I'll be like, I can't do this.
So funny. Yeah, I figured I'd actually ask it last, just in case they break your heart.
Yeah.
Austin, do you remember like our first like scathing review?
I remember one that we were definitely very early on in our pod was 1,000 Deaths of Arthur Ben. It's not a super popular book, and it's not that people are super emotionally tied to that, but that's one that we publicly both really didn't like. I guess to give is part of your question going, are we nervous in general to give negative reviews, or was it that first one doing that was that nerve-wracking?
Just the first one, because I think if you're not gonna give a negative review at all, then what are you in the podcasting game for? Because that's part of it, right?
Yeah.
You got to be, if it's a bad book, you got to be able to say that.
Oh yeah, we've been tested now. We've speaking of 1,000 Deaths of Arthur Ben, like we gave a pretty scathing review, did not like the book, yet we did a panel with the author at Dragonsteel, like sat right next to him, and we were talking to him like, hey, sorry man, you're gonna look up if you look up our video and your book, like we didn't like it. Sure, you're a nice guy, but yeah, we didn't like your book. And we did a whole review with an indie author, Adrian Gibson, it's a book called Mushroom Blues. I liked it. I thought it was a fine book. But Austin did not like it. We did a whole review with him in the call as Austin was giving his negative feedback, going, I think the emotional impact was a 1 star. The plot characters 1.25 out of 5 star, right in front of the author's face.
No chance.
That's awesome.
Oh my God.
Yeah, we've at this point we're willing to give negative reviews. We're not afraid of speaking our mind. At this point.
How did that? But before the call, Austin, before you get the author on the call or however you guys did it, were you nervous, Austin, or were you like, I'm about to toast this guy?
So here's the interesting. So we had the reason we read his indie book that was in the SPFBO, which is the competition for science or fantasy that Mark Lawrence, he's another author with. Sorry, I'm just saying this. Some viewers don't know, or you guys, just he does some books like Red Sister, a book that wouldn't burn. He's an author that hosts this competition for indie authors to submit their book, and it goes through the rounds, and you see if you're the indie book of the year of that competition. And his book is in the running. It was in the final 10. And we reached out to him, or he reached out to us, one or the other, just about just talking. He has a podcast of his own. And Rich and I, we've done 2 videos now where we had indie authors on the pod as a panel to talk about a subject. One of them, the first one we did was about marketing as an indie author, and from actual indie authors of how they do it. The second one we did with 3 more indie authors. One of them was Adrian, the author of Mushroom Blues. And that episode was focused on how to handle criticism. So we were talking about, hey, how do you handle criticism? What's it like? We talked about it. That video releases completely unrelated. Our editor, Nick, shout out, Nick. Hey, our editor, Nick's watching that video, goes, wow, this Mushroom Blues book sounds super cool. So he pitches it in our book club that we have. And whatever our patrons vote for the book of the month, we read with them and we review it. So we read the book with because that got voted and that was #1 book. So we read the book, and then we asked Adrian, since we knew him, he was on the pod already. We said, hey, it would be super cool if you came on to our book club for all of our people that read the book. So people who loved it, didn't like it, whatever, could give feedback. So he was willing to do that. He came in. We already had a rapport with him. And people were very honest. Some people were negative about it. Some people gave praises. Some people loved his world, etc. I was upfront with him that I didn't love it, but wanted to support an indie author, so we still had him on there. And then the third time we talked with him was this review. So at this point, we talked with him several times. We're cordial. He knows. He also knows. This is another important thing as well. I think with just content creation is the person that you portray yourself as. You shouldn't make them too. Of course, you're on. You're on camera, so it's not like you're 100% the same. Because you're chill in real life. There's sometimes you don't have to, in quotes, perform. But the closer you are to your actual personality, like the better. Because Rich and I, when we're giving a review, it's like that's what we think. That's who we are. When people watch our stuff, we want to give negative reviews, because if we didn't, we would be very disingenuous, and then it would. We're obviously not going to actually hate on the guy. Like Rich and I will always go back and forth about how we hate each other. Like that's because we know obviously you're friends in real life. Like you three, I'm sure, joke all the time.
Oh yeah.
But then when
it's not a joke.
Author, exactly. That's what people don't understand. So a long way of getting to your answer, Joe, was that it was not nervous because we talked with him so often, and we didn't just like have him on and grill him. We would never, especially to an indie author who's selling their, have a lot of reviews as well. So I guess what we would never do, like knowing the platform, the size of your platform, is just have someone on to grill them and get a gotcha. That would never be fun. And also the value of the review is to see, hey, how do you handle criticism? Look, a reviewer can be honest, and somebody that wrote the book can handle it well, and there's a tactful way of doing it. So I was more excited to go, hey, how can I tactfully like give feedback, be negative, like my honest thoughts, but not be mean. So that was the cool thing. Sorry, long answer to that, but no, not nervous because of all that content.
It's a great way to look at it, I think. Yeah.
Now, little segue, because you mentioned, you didn't like it. So let's say you didn't commit to reading one of these books for your book club, right? Or your podcast. How long do you give a book before you put it down if you don't like it? You mentioned the book that wouldn't burn. I started it and I put it down. I think I was just in like a reading slump. I'm not sure. But how long would you guys go? How many pages? Or however long.
I didn't like that either, but I've been yapping so
Personally, I think I give it normally like the 50% mark for most books.
Okay.
But now with a YouTube channel, I very rarely read a book just for myself. It's normally on the calendar of we're both reading it and both have to review it. Or it's a book club book. Or I committed to reading it with someone else. Like one way or the other, I generally just have to finish all of them. The last book I wanted to DNF was the 5th book in the Stormlight Archive. That was the last one where I definitely would not have finished the book if it wasn't for YouTube. But no, for the most part, I think, we finish every book at this point.
Okay. 50% is pretty far into a book. I don't think I'd be able to put it down at that point. I think I'd be more of a, I'm just going to finish.
Yeah, I'm this far through, might as well finish.
Yeah. You guys didn't like Tainted Cup. That might be part of it. When you have multiple people reading and buddy readers and you have a podcast together, people who are just solo YouTubers, solo podcasters, you can DNF and not, it doesn't really matter. I think people that have multiple on a platform will have more negative reviews because you have to, there's more of a force to finish it because your friend's reading it or because somebody picked it out. So you're going to not DNF a book so you can talk about it with your buddy, which means you'll end up liking less because you're not going to give a review of a book you DNF'd at 20 pages in. So it never exists. But now it exists because you read Tainted Cup with your buds.
That's a good point. That's a really good point.
I wouldn't have finished Tainted Cup if it wasn't for the YouTube or for the podcast. There's no way.
Right.
I'm a
Yeah.
big. The payoff's gonna be huge, guy. Like
We did.
I'll
We
read
said it
and be like,
every. I think we did it in 4 parts. And the first 3 parts were like, "It's a whodunit, guys. We just got to get to the end."
finish. The end's gonna be awesome.
Every whodunit does this, guys. I promise.
I've got to get your guys' take on this. We have a buddy that before he reads a book will read the ending of the book to make sure it's something he wants to read.
Specifically,
Monster.
he was part of the way through Project Hail Mary and was like, "This is getting boring." So he went and read the last page and then finished the book.
And that's a fantastic book, right?
Okay, yeah.
No.
I agree.
Should I get him?
The funniest part, he's a fan
God.
of you guys, so he's gonna hear this. Yeah.
The
Yeah, he's
only
definitely gonna listen.
the only exception
What's his
to this.
name?
Yeah, let's bully him online.
Yeah.
What's his name?
It's the Blazing Orca, I think, is where you can find him.
No.
That's not me. I would never. Oh my goodness, that's too funny.
The genre, though, that I know that this is more okay is like romance books, like romance novels. Reading the ending is actually like fairly normal.
Okay.
It's like it doesn't matter as nearly
Yeah.
as much.
It's true.
Like you're there for like the dynamic. And so when they go like, okay, does the right thing at the end happen? Yes. Okay, we'll see
I'll
how we
read
get
it.
there.
Do you see
But-
that it's happily ever after for like 90% of the romance novels?
Yeah. Well, like normally it's like the three, like between the love triangle, who's the one that actually gets there, gets at the end, you know. But I wonder, is that a more acceptable way to do it? Of your guys' friend of he was going to put down the book,
He was.
and so the last Hail Mary attempt to get him to finish is
Nice.
read the end, and if
Right.
it's enough, then you'll carry through. Because what are the options? It's either he DNFs or he spoils himself and finishes it.
And that's what
fair.
happened. I've known him basically my whole life, or well, I guess his entire
His whole life. It's his
I've
brother.
known him
whole
his
life,
whole
yeah.
life. And I recommended the book to him out because I love that book, and I was like, "You got to read it. You're gonna love it." And he was reading it. It wasn't clicking with him, and then he read the ending to see if he wanted to keep finishing it. He was like, "Something about singing. I don't." It's like I don't really get that, but I was like, "Just finish. It'll make
You'll
sense."
get there.
Oh,
So you
God.
talk. So romance books.
Mhm.
So primarily we all read fantasy and sci-fi, I would say. What is your go-to genre if you just need a break from fantasy and sci-fi? If you need a break. Because we just read a romance book for Valentine's Day. Mystery. You might like Tainted Cup then.
hmm
I'm a big fan of like my whodunits.
Mm.
Like so.
Okay.
Then again, my favorite like genre to like, I need a break is Discworld. It's a genre on its own. It's still fantasy, but
What
Okay.
is that?
my
What is that?
Definitely fantasy.
Discworld by Terry Pratchett is an absurdist fantasy series. Is it 41 or 42 books?
Two.
Austin,
42.
is it
Oh my gosh.
42
wow.
books? Yeah.
Mhm.
42 books, maybe 43. I think I'm wrong, but point being, it is like most of the books are very, very short. There's no chapters. It
Just
just
41. Sorry, you were
goes.
right, Rich.
Okay. Yeah, it just goes. And it has some of the best worlds, wonderful messaging. The characters are fantastic. It has your great British witty humor. My favorite style of humor. Love the Monty Python stuff. You feel smarter and you laugh. I've never, on the smile-o-meter, I have never smiled more than when I'm reading a Terry Pratchett novel.
Wow.
And so that's like,
Okay.
that's always my
That's
go-to.
quite a
like,
recommendation.
Yeah. I will say the no chapter piece scares me a little bit. I don't know when to stop. I would have to read it in one sitting.
there are breaks, like kinda.
Oh,
You know
there's
what I
page
mean?
breaks,
Of like
okay.
there's
3 dots.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
That works then. That works. That can work.
yeah, there's just not like a chapter 2 type deal. It just
Yeah.
goes, it stops, and then it continues. I don't
Okay.
know.
Well, we just read The Love Hypothesis for Valentine's Day.
Oh.
Very popular book. Have you guys read this?
No,
No,
but I
I wasn't.
have seen it everywhere.
Yeah, so that's why I picked it. I mean, it's really everywhere, especially when it first came out. Barnes and Noble had a section dedicated to it. So yeah, we read it. What'd we think of it? I had to miss the podcast that you guys graded it on.
It was a 3.89 star review from us.
Oh,
Yeah,
That's pretty good.
we
Bad,
enjoyed
not
it.
bad.
There's a good amount, like the rom-comminess of it is very self-aware of it being a rom-com, which I liked about it. There, fair warning, if you guys do read it, there's the 3 whole chapters that are just smut, pure smut, and no plot movement at all. So that was like our big issue with it. How do you guys feel about smut? Are you guys fans?
We just were not prepared
No,
for it.
I wasn't ready at
First half of
all.
the book, we were talking. We are like, there's surprisingly not that much smut for a romance book. This is awesome. And then just
We ate our words pretty quickly after that. And I listen to audiobooks while I run or like work out. So hitting 3 straight chapters of smut in the gym around other people was frankly embarrassing. I turned red and left.
Your headphones
no one else could
disconnected,
hear
you're
it.
on the treadmill.
That was my biggest fear, is that my headphones were going to disconnect and I was going to be shamed publicly.
Nightmare. That's a nightmare.
Well, I'm a straight man. Yeah, smut books don't work for me.
Okay.
It's written for us. It clearly doesn't work. It makes all of us uncomfortable. Like,
Yep.
it just, I don't know. I've never met a straight man that like enjoys that. That's just not. I don't know. For some reason, when it's through words, like either audiobook or visual, it just is weird and awkward. I don't know.
It's probably because it's from the girl's point of view most of the time. So
That too.
yeah.
Here's the thing, though. Like, you pay attention to like sex scenes written by men in like cheesy sci-fi novels, and for most of them, like they're not well written. Like even as a guy, like the male perspective, and I'm like, yeah, this is poorly written. You could cut this out. It's dull, cringy. So I'm not even a fan of that. Like I know, like the female perspective ones are just better written, but it just makes it feel awkward. I just don't like it.
I get a little uncomfortable. I feel like I always get to one of those chapters. I like to read at a coffee shop, and I feel like they always come up when I'm out in public in a coffee shop, and I'm like, well, couldn't I have read this at home? I don't want to be in public reading this.
I read ACOTAR on a plane, like audiobook and physical. Like I'm between 2 ladies as I'm listening to the sex scene. I'm going like, I am incredibly uncomfortable right now. This is so awkward.
That's brutal.
Like all I have to do is just take a glance over it and see what page I'm reading, and oh god.
Yep. Yeah, that's definitely how it goes every time. Austin, you read?
We did for the channel. For the channel. Mike's book reviews. He's another booktuber, YouTuber. He's a great guy. He anytime he talks about romantasy or ACOTAR, he says Rich and I, that's our favorite genre, of course, because
that's a great bit.
We read ACOTAR. We posted a video on it, and so his bit is never ending. I think like some people think that's what we do, because we have unironically read Fourth Wing, ACOTAR. We're doing ACOMAF right now, a lot because we had so much fun going so outside the genre piece. When you're asking like, hey, what do you like to do outside fantasy and sci-fi? We just do fantasy sci-fi for books for 99% of the time. That's our thing. And so we'll go into a different subgenre of fantasy sci-fi to get our reprieve from normal fantasy sci-fi or whatever's normal to us. So we'll do an ACOTAR and ACOMAF. Not love it, but genuinely, it's not. I don't like the books, but I love reviewing the books with Rich because it makes it fun. We do like some type of skit or something to make it way more fun than we had reading it. Like this recent one with ACOMAF. It's okay to say it, but we'll be having this video up eventually. Rich and I went to the gym, and I was his personal trainer, and he was lifting weights while I was describing the plot of ACOMAF, and we just had some fun with it. And I'm
great.
spoiling him the book, and then he's going to go read the book, and we're going to have the second part of the bit, which we haven't filmed yet, is going to be interesting. This is where we're going to have some more fun with the whole bit of reading romantasy. That's the fun part about going outside the genre for us and making it fun for Rich and I.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's great. Good.
I will say, as I'm still in the middle of Akamath, and it's a better written book than the first one, and I'm more bored. You know what I mean? Of like, I liked the first one because it was bad, and I had fun. I'm not having fun anymore. It's just better enough to not be bad, but now you've taken away my enjoyment. So now it's just a fine book. I'm like, don't.
So are you gonna read the next one? I think they're still coming out. I think that
I
she's
don't
still
wanna.
writing. No,
Maximum, we do one a year. Maximum.
That's a good
that's
rule.
fair.
Yeah.
That's very fair.
No, we actually read recently Pride and Prejudice. At least for me, the first time I've read it. And, man, so good. Like, what a great book. I highly recommend it just to see, like, this is, like, the origin of, like, if you want to know what every other romance book is based on and, like, some of the tropes, and it's like, what do you want the best it really could be? There. Like, everything else is a pale comparison. And I really liked it. It's just really well written.
Great.
You know, every time I go to Barnes & Noble just to walk around and look at books, I always go to the classical section first, and I'm like, you know, I should probably read some of these, and then I'll look over and I'll see, like, the sci-fi fantasy section. I'm like, that guy's holding a sword on the cover of that book. Let me go see what that one is.
Yes. Hey, that's our actual answer to your question is classics, because we made a point this year to read classics. So that's our sidestep.
Okay, nice. I feel like I wish I could contribute and say I've read some classics. So hopefully we can just cut this because I don't want to be called out for not reading so many of them.
I read a couple of classics when I was younger. I think they're the classics, like Picture of
Green Eggs
Dorian
and Ham.
Gray, yeah, Green Eggs and Ham, yeah, you know, One Fish, Two Fish, etc. But I read like Picture of Dorian Gray and 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, which I believe are considered like classics. But I've never.
Yeah.
I guess at this point I couldn't even recall much about them, except for the big spoilers that.
I see what you're doing, Joe.
Flexing
I've also
on you.
read.
Yeah.
I've also
Lying.
read those, but I also can't recall.
Yeah,
anything
I
that
Google.
happened in
We
them.
must be reading the same list on Google right now. Yeah.
Well, Austin, of the classics that we've read somewhat recently, like which one would you recommend?
Haven't we only read one classic recently? What's the other
Yeah.
classic we read?
Pride and Prejudice. I gave you a simple answer.
Comes highly recommended.
Yeah, actually, Pride and Prejudice is both the best and worst classic. Like by
Ooh.
far.
By far, yeah.
Best and worst of 2025, that's for sure.
Yes. Oh, 100%. Yes. We want to read Monte Cristo next. I think that is on our radar.
Nice.
It's
The unabridged one,
Yes.
ideally.
Travis, have you read that?
No.
No.
No,
That's a thick boy.
No.
You're
you
nodding your
guys-
head, yes.
I'm just
Are you guys
acknowledging.
Are you guys more film buffs and watch a bunch of movies? Because I like to step away from books at times.
Yeah, we just watched Troy, so Travis hadn't seen Troy before, and me and Joe were baffled by that. So we're like, well, you kind of have to watch Troy, because I think that's a classic. So we watch a good amount of movies.
Hell yeah. Okay.
Are you one of those the film snobs like Austin who likes getting into the Oscar movies, or are you a normal, sane individual that, watches the good movies?
Yeah, I'm a blockbuster film kind of guy.
Yeah.
Just give me the big ones.
I'm not like a big like, oh, the motifs in this one are special. I'm like, dude, Dune was fucking sick. They must have spent so much money on that. Oh my god. And I read the Dune book, so that's maybe a bad example, but like, yeah, I'm a big like Marvel guy, so the big blockbusters are where I live.
Yeah. I like
Are you
CGI.
Are you a new Marvel guy too? For Marvel guy?
I was a comic book kid at heart. So I liked up until Endgame, and since then it's just taken a big dive for me. So I'm hoping they bounce back here eventually, but some of them have been
It's
pretty
not looking
trash.
promising.
It's not looking great. Yeah.
Mm-mm. This new one that
Brave
just
New
came out is getting
World.
bad. Did you see it?
No, I was just gonna say same thing you were. That it looked bad
Oh my
reviews.
God, it's getting
Bombing.
terrible reviews.
Yeah.
Yeah. How bad are you seeing? Is it that bad? I saw 50-something% Rotten Tomatoes. That's all I saw.
Everything I've seen, I like read a lot of IGN, so I'll go through IGN, and they just crashed it. And they were like so many unanswered questions from it, and it hasn't set anything up for the next phase. And all you have to do is put Tom Holland on the screen for a second, and I'm gonna be bought back into the Marvel universe. I'm gonna be like, oh my God, Spider-Man's back.
He is the face. They just
He
got
is the face.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think as like a meta score overall, it's like a bottom 10 Marvel project, which is just not ideal because there's been some pretty bad ones. But I think part of the thing that makes Marvel so good too is when they introduce either the characters you love like Spider-Man and you see him a lot, or they introduce new characters that you may not know yet. That mysteriousness for people who haven't read the comics and stuff, I think is a big deal. So I don't think they were introducing Red Hulk and people were like, damn, it's just like the guy we've seen for the last 20 years. That's crazy.
But red.
Yeah, it's the whole, why is he a different color? We don't get it. And it's like, okay. But like
Must be
Thunderbolts
sunburned.
is coming out and they haven't named the bad guy,
Yeah.
but it's Sentry is the name of the bad guy. He's awesome, and in the trailer, you don't really even see him. There's like a big mystique about him. So I think I think that one's gonna be a lot better than Brave New World ends up.
That's fun. Now,
I just kind of hope it all dies. I just want it to
You're
stop.
not a Marvel guy.
I agree.
I
agree.
was. I want the money in the film industry to move on to greater and better things. Let the superheroes die, and we move on to something else. And occasionally we throw out a superhero movie every now and again. But let's have that money to go anywhere else. Let's bring back the Western.
I would love
have that
westerns.
Let's do the
I'm in.
Western again.
Yeah.
Why
Bring
not?
Chuck Norris back one more time.
We don't need 5 superhero movies a year. We really, and I think the oversaturation is playing into the fact that people don't like it as much anymore. So I definitely agree with you there. Take all that money and dump it into the Red Rising movies, please. I would.
Animated film.
And
though, right?
that's what we
Animated.
said. Yeah, animated
Yes.
Red Rising would go so
Yes.
crazy.
There are some books, oh man, I'd be so scared if they got adapted into a movie or show, just because a lot of these creative directors want to, put their own spin on a story that's already fantastic. So imagine they release a Red Rising series and it's not Red Rising, like there's some differences. Oh man, that'd be devastating.
Mm-hmm.
That would be
For,
very
for the
devastating.
most part, I honestly don't want adaptations anymore. Like I'm at this point, I'm not really excited. The only time I'm excited for an adaptation is for something I just kind of liked. You know what I mean? Of like,
Yeah.
I'm not super invested in this, but I liked the story, and this would be I'm not super invested, so maybe a visual medium will be cool. But like Wheel of Time, clearly, I love it. I wish they didn't have an adaptation. Just don't do it. Like, stop it. Or really anything else. I just don't want them anymore because they're off. Like, when's the last good one? Adaptation of anything.
Joe would say Dune, right?
Yeah, I love the Dune movies. I think they're great. Although when they release Messiah and the floor comes crashing out under everyone who's only seen the movies, I'm actually excited for it because everyone hated Messiah. I think the public opinion on the book is really bad. So I'm very excited for that to happen to everybody.
Well, I will say I've come around a little bit because of Rockio and Austin talking to me about like Dune Part 2. I liked it well enough, mainly because of the visuals. But yeah, story-wise, I don't think it landed as well as the books did.
long story short, we're dickheads. We've said nothing but negative things up to this point about Name of the Wind. You love Name of the Wind. Hey, Travis, what's your favorite thing? Let's shit on that.
Let's see.
So,
Careful.
Did you guys,
Yeah.
Joe, for your editing purposes, is cursing?
Yeah, it's cursing's
We're
fine.
good.
Yeah, we don't care.
Okay, good.
All
Travis,
good.
What's your favorite thing? Just so Rich can say something negative.
Let's see.
Do Red Rising. Put him in a pickle.
Nah, we've already talked so much about Red Rising. I'm a big Hunger Games guy. I'm excited for the new book to come out.
I don't have any strong opinions on Hunger Games. I can't be super negative about it.
It depends on how you feel.
That might be worse to have no opinion on it.
I liked it when I was in middle school.
Wow,
And that's about it.
Yeah, there you go.
I mean,
got your ass.
I'm gonna go have chicken tenders and mac and cheese real quick for dinner.
And read the Hunger Games. Just all nostalgia night.
Hey, don't worry. We have a friend of ours that he frequently just rereads Percy Jackson.
Yeah.
Travis loves Percy
I'm a
Jackson.
big Percy Jackson guy too.
Dude, well, no, here's the thing. Nothing wrong with like Percy Jackson. Nothing at all. It's good.
But
You don't like. He doesn't read a lot of books every year. Of your choices, he rereads Percy Jackson again. It's like you can do something new.
That's fair.
we have a plethora of things to recommend. Yeah.
But Rich, this also comes from this ego of we read to learn more, see more stories, and have more messages. When a lot of people just read to go, oh, that's something I like more of that. Which is just not Rich and I. We try to expand just because we're trying to read a bunch of stories. For example, we come on a pod. The more we've read, the more we can go, yes, we have read Tainted Cup or this or that and talk about it. So it helps in those situations. Early on in BookTube, when especially I was way less read, it was sometimes harder to go on and go, oh, can't talk about that or that or that. We're peer pressured into being into this more. Well, Rich also peer pressured me into it, of being more well read. But in reality, Travis, I would love to be just a Percy Jackson rereader.
A simplest.
Go back. Yes, it's
those
are so good.
You know you're gonna like it. You know, there's so many books I pick up and I'm like, this stinks. At least you know what you're getting into.
Have you guys read The Rage of Dragons? We just read that one.
Yeah.
I really loved that one.
Oh, that was so good.
And they don't want to keep reading it. Not to point fingers, but those guys. Because of the third one's not out yet, and they don't want to read it.
Oh.
We got into a debate about is it going to get finished, is it not, and should we read the second one knowing that the third one doesn't. We did some research, it doesn't have like a cover or anything yet, so we're like not sure if it's going to come out. I've
heard things around the rumor mill that it actually is getting worked on and getting done. No firm dates. I think it's more likely to be finished than some. It's not on the same level as like George R.R. Martin or
That's good to know.
Scott Lynch. I don't think it's the same level. But I have no date, really. I just have a little bit more confidence that it will eventually come out.
That's good news. But you guys liked it when you read it?
Only I've read it.
Okay, gotcha.
I've been pushing this book for 2 years for him to read.
It's very good.
Yes.
Yeah.
He's been pushing it.
It's
I know
so up your alley, Austin.
Yeah.
I can't wait to read it. It's for some reason slipped on the TBR constantly. And maybe a part of that is that if there's some news about book 3 coming out, that's perfect time to start.
Light the fire.
Yeah, that'll light it.
Yeah, a lot of our conversations when we read some of these books is who could the protagonist beat in a fight? We're very simple, so it's just, who could they beat in a sword fight? And this is a great book to have that conversation because he's just a great swordsman. It's like, could he beat so-and-so?
Isn't that how we got to Troy? We were like,
that is how we got to Troy. Yeah,
exactly.
That's a great bro conversation would be, Hal versus Daros of Lycos. That's a great bro conversation.
We've had that conversation a couple of times.
It's not even close.
Yeah. Darrow has like a lightsaber-esque weapon. It's over.
Yeah.
The Common of Karem versus the Reaper of Mars.
Yeah, the nickname difference is a slight edge for the Reaper of Mars as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's we go very bro with our approach to the conversations we have about the books.
Oh yeah, that person can fight. Who else can he beat up?
And
There
I
is
know,
no power.
No.
It would.
I now understand the nervousness about reading epic Stormblade archive of how much can you just. Honestly, I think you guys can still have very much centered conversation around, hey, who would beat who from Stormlight. Not as much as your Red Rising in that, but there's some fight and there's some people you go, this person or this person. Is that accurate, Rich? I think.
Oh yeah, definitely. Oh
Okay.
no, you have your bro character of like,
Yes.
oh yeah, like you're just getting hyped up to see him get to fight, and it's fun.
Yeah.
Of like, ooh, who would he beat against?
Okay.
It's fun.
Like a Logan Nine Fingers. If you guys, yeah.
Logan
all right.
Nine Fingers is my
Little
man.
name drop in there to show that I've read some books.
Yeah, there you go.
Logan Nine
Got
Yeah,
it.
no.
Of course.
Oh,
I
no,
did
gotta
tell
ask
you guys to read that.
Gotta ask you real quick. Okay, who would win? Because Rich and I have difference of opinion. Who would win, Logan or Dare of Legends?
Oh wait, is he Nine Fingers when he fights? I assume.
Yeah.
Oh, Logan Nine Fingers.
Logan Nine Fingers.
Logan
You're on the
Nine
wrong-
Fingers.
You're on the wrong side. You're on the
Oh
wrong
my
side. That's-
goodness.
No.
Yeah.
I
That
don't
last
think you
fight was
understand,
enough.
Austin.
That last fight was enough for me to say this guy's not losing to anybody.
Nope.
So I'm going Logan Nine Fingers. I told Joe, I said, I usually try not to like hype up books too much for the same reason that if they hate it, that's gonna hurt me. But I told Joe, I was like, this will be your favorite trilogy of all time if you read these books. I was confident in that because I know Joe.
Yeah.
And I could say that
I
you're
want to
gonna like
read it, but we talked about it earlier. I just can't focus on more than one book at the same time, and I'm committed and show up to our podcast, unlike the one who missed our last episode, Victor. So,
Ooh.
yeah, I'll get to it eventually, maybe if we read it for the podcast.
I didn't miss it on purpose. I missed it on accident.
Yeah, that's worse.
It-
You get that's worse, right?
Talk about a nice situation for you that you guys have. Like you have three people.
Wait,
If one goes missing, like you can still have a it can still kind of be the same. Conversation between two people. If like Austin and I don't show up, like there's no one else. There's no backup. You can't just show up and film. One of these days, we're gonna just do a completely solo episode, and it's gonna be so weird. Like I'm tempted to honestly do it
weird.
just because it would be weird.
Monologuing about a book for roughly an hour
Oh,
seems nearly
Oh.
impossible.
Hard.
I was about to
Yeah.
say
Oh.
my episode would be 15 minutes.
Oh
the
my
fear
God.
the fear
That's
I
a
had
challenge.
the fear I had of missing that last episode was the next day when I texted them and I was like, "So how'd it go?" Because I was afraid they were gonna say best episode ever. Like we should do this more often. And I was like, "Oh man, good for you guys."
Joe said specifically not to say anything.
Yeah, we
like that
talked
'cause
about
it would
doing
ruin your
that.
day.
Yeah, I was like, I think you might be already upset that he had to miss, so I don't think we should text him saying how good it was.
Yeah, he's upset that he missed our best episode ever.
Oh god.
Which book review was it?
Oh, it was the Love Hypothesis, so it was just Joe and I talking about sex.
Yeah, yo, he just talked about sex.
Victor, are you sure that was accidental?
Yeah.
Are you sure about that?
It was on purpose. I couldn't have that conversation.
I knew
Convenient
it.
one to miss. Very convenient.
Yeah, very convenient miss.
Oh God. Nothing like talking about raw dogging with the boys.
Yeah,
Like,
that's
something like
what it's
it.
all about. That's why we started these podcasts.
Yeah.
I
And
feel
then trying not to laugh.
This is a safe question because we were talking. The bro question to ask you guys is every friend group asks us at some point, and we ask it several times in our own friend group. What's the toughest animal you could beat in a fight? How much do
yeah.
you believe in your capabilities? I got to hear this because every guy has you can tell a man's ego by, or their straight up confidence. And I'm curious where you guys are at.
This is barehanded, right? Like we don't get like just a weapon of choice.
Yeah, I think you're gonna say a
Barehanded.
bear. Okay, barehanded,
Yeah, bear.
Yeah.
okay.
No Hulk hands.
Yeah, it's barehanded cage fight.
Not I'm in a cage. Get me out. None. I was gonna go right off the bat and say some sort of bird of prey, like maybe
Those
an
cat-
eagle. I
Those
know.
talons are screwing you up
Yeah,
so
that's
hard.
I'm not saying I'm gonna look pretty at the end of it, but it's one of those things where if I get my hands on it, I might be
Right.
all right.
That's
That's
every
the issue.
bro's answer too. Let me get my hands on it. It's
Yeah,
fun.
yeah.
On it, and I'll win. I'm gonna go with a large bird as my
Okay.
answer. You know, you don't think I can beat a bird? Come
No.
on, man.
Not a bird, yes. An eagle? No.
Yeah,
not
You
changing
better
it.
hope
I
there's a
changed it.
roof on the
Joe-
cage.
Yeah.
Joe, cut the eagle part. Just the bird.
Yeah, that's consider that cut, brother. No problem.
Hey,
Vic's like, I
Yeah.
could take down
How heavy
America
are
pretty
eagles?
easy.
All right,
Joe's
Eagles
got none of this.
are okay. Eagles, they're pretty massive. Wow, wingspan going. Oh my God, their wingspan goes to 7.5 feet.
oh God, I don't think I could
That's
hold
their,
it.
that's their wingspan, 7.5 feet. That's crazy.
That's a bird with
Okay.
Kevin Durant wingspan for you, Vic.
Yeah.
Think about
Did I
that.
just lose this fictitious
I
fight?
think you
That
just
was my
lost
own
the.
choosing.
You're 0-1. Your own
Of
fictitious
my own
fight.
choosing.
Yeah.
Oh my God! All right, well you guys go because I'm devastated.
The one I always default to is coyote. It's like the size of like a
Okay.
medium-sized dog. They can be kind of aggressive. I've seen them in person. I
Is it
think
hungry?
I'm not that worried about it, even if it is, because I'm hungry too.
Kick it.
It's locked in a cage with a dog. Yeah.
Okay.
No,
Also, weight of coyotes looks like it goes up to 40-ish pounds. I
Yeah.
think
that's
acceptable.
easy. Yeah, I'm tossing that thing around the cage.
I don't know about easy. It's a lot faster than you. It's a
Let
lot
it
faster.
bite
It
you
has
and
to
took
come
out its
to
only
me
weapon.
though.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm putting it in a triangle choke. It can't even fathom a triangle choke.
Yeah.
Travis, let me hear yours. I'm interested in yours. I think this will be good.
Dog was definitely the go-to, but I think I could take like a 4.5-foot gator.
That's a very
okay.
Florida answer. Yeah.
It's
That's
Yeah.
a very Florida answer.
Okay.
Like,
I've
I'm-
seen that. I've seen people take down a gator
Yeah.
like, frequently.
But
Yeah.
this question is what is like the limit? So you're saying a 5-foot gator has your number, you have no chance.
It's kind of getting out there. 5 feet's a little bit intimidating. 4.5 feet, that's like, all right, come on,
You know-
Pete, let's go.
A lot of short kings out there just heard you say 5 feet is intimidating, and that's respect. I'm talking about myself, so thank you
Yeah.
for saying that.
And gators, they can't move laterally. They've never seen me move laterally.
This is great.
I think easily you can hold. We've seen that happen. You can tame a gator, but not to be gratuitous, but you have to actually hurt the gator. That might be tough to actually put some damage onto the gator because you never see someone whacking a gator. It's usually
That's true.
contain. Now you think you could actually get through its hide or whatever you call it. That's
Or
That's
put
a
a
good
naked
point.
choke on the gator.
I was about to say, I'm going full Nelson. I'm
Choke.
getting on top of him, full
Okay.
Nelsoning, and just kind of letting him have it.
Joke it out.
Yeah.
how was the worst answer eagle? How do I
Yeah.
avoid a gator and
I feel like he just
But not
panicked
me.
and was like, birds are.
Birds are easy. I can take a bird.
No, to Austin's point, I've been asked this question before, and it's always been bird when I answered. I'm like, yeah, what's it gonna do, with a talon? But now I'm rethinking it. I need a new answer. I don't know, an otter. That puts me down at the bottom.
Yeah, that's tough.
That's tough, you know?
That's tough.
I feel like people will judge you
Otter.
for beating up an otter. Like,
Yeah,
honestly,
yeah,
what are you
Honestly,
doing?
that's kind of mean. That's kind of
Yeah.
You're losing the
Yeah.
court of public opinion if you're beating up an otter.
Yeah, what's the deal, dude? You gonna go after
That was
someone?
super mean.
They were wrong answers. So let me workshop an answer, and then we'll put it out there for the public to see. And it'll be a picture of me with like a kangaroo in front of me. I know I'm not
No,
beating
you're
up
not
a kangaroo.
beating-
I know.
No.
Believe me, I know that. I've seen those videos.
What about you guys? Do you guys have an animal in mind?
I do. Rich, do you got one?
Yeah, I got one. Mine would be a medium-sized deer.
Oh, come
Okay.
on, dude. You
With
stole mine.
antlers?
With the
You
antlers.
guys were on the same page with that? Oh my
No,
god.
well,
That's what
mine
maximum.
specifically-
That's my maximum
mine's-
I could do.
Mine's specifically a large doe because I don't think I could do like
Okay.
all the antlers.
The
stuff,
antlers.
So I'd say a large doe is my. Yeah, I agree with you.
My-
Rich.
My thought is if I can just get to the side of it, the antlers help with leverage of just
Mhm.
twisting that thing and bringing it to the ground.
Yeah.
Wow.
I can't
Now-
believe you
Okay.
guys had a very similar answer.
Yeah, that
The
is.
shot of like, do I get impaled or do I get to the side of it?
Yeah, you gotta get to the side.
You also can't get behind it. The mule kick.
Oh yeah, no, I
yeah.
specifically have to embrace my inner matador and
Yeah.
just sidestep, grab, and twist that thing to the ground.
Yeah.
What worries me is I've seen what a deer can do to like a Honda, so that
That's true.
scares me there, you know, because those things can mess
They
up some
bounce
cars.
up too. Yeah.
You're right.
Yeah,
You're right.
That is
and
true.
if I run full speed at a deer, what's gonna happen? You know, and these things are getting hit by cars.
You're gonna hit
And
a
I'm-
Euro step and get to the side of it.
Yeah, that's what you gotta do.
I'm gonna juke it out. Very true.
The thing is, anything larger, I think it's a good coin toss, 50-50 for something like a deer. You're looking for like, what's that line of people pay-per-view to watch this? I think if it's man versus deer, you'd get people like the betting odds would be -120 on both sides. I think.
You
Yeah.
can see that. Yeah, that's fair. No real favorite in that one.
All these would be
Eagle
better
S-
than a Jake
I-
Paul
I
fight.
think- Oh yeah, Jake Paul. Yeah. Oh, that Tyson
God.
fight. How
Tyson
Oh
Oh,
my, it's
terrible.
so hard
Terrible.
to watch.
I really hope that the end result of that is that none of these celebrity boxing fights are actually going to make money again. Like, I hope that was
hope so.
disappointing enough that the next one is just past. Like, people remember the Mike Tyson fight and just go,
You know what?
That-
We're
Yeah.
not watching it. Yeah, that would
Yeah.
be
I'm not
ideal.
going
Now-
to pay for this one.
Yeah.
Maybe
If-
it's the highlights on YouTube. That's it. Like, just don't pay them for
That's
the
big
initial
thing.
watch.
Yeah.
Well, that's the issue. They're on Netflix now. So if you have a Netflix subscription and it's like a Wednesday
There.
night, you're like, well, I guess so.
Yeah, I guess I'll
Well, if
check it out.
If he fights a bird next, I'm gonna clear my calendar.
Yeah,
And I'm gonna say, can he beat up a bird? Because I need to see this for myself.
Oh, God.
Oh,
The sad
no.
thing is, like, Jake Paul's not a terrible boxer. Like, he's actually
No,
pretty
yeah.
good. He has all the advantages. Like,
he kicked
he
all
could
our ass.
make an entertaining fight, but he chooses to fight people that just is not entertaining.
Yeah, people that are, well, older.
Yeah.
Very older. It's kind of, yeah, it's crazy.
It's hard to sell pay-per-views once you have a losing record. I feel like
That's
Like,
fair.
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
drop
Yeah.
a couple in a row.
Yeah, they should give us a chance. I'm undefeated. 0-0.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, put me out there. The question mark.
That happens to me every time I watch a movie or read a good book that has just this adrenaline rush. You ever watch a boxing movie, or I watched Karate Kid as a kid, and you go, "Oh, karate's my personality for the next several weeks."
Hmm.
Yep.
I do that when I read just a good book that becomes my personality for a bit. That happens quite often, and I just think when I'm watching a good boxing match, sometimes I'll think, wait, I'm gonna be past my prime already. I'm not getting any younger. Should I go into the ring just once just to
Yeah.
see what happens? You ever get those moments where you finish some type of story and you feel like maybe I should make a quick life change?
Hmm.
Austin, Wednesdays at my local boxing gym is open cage night.
Oh
Quite
my
literally.
god, that sounds
It is.
terrible.
It is open ring. They bring up
Okay.
anybody can just come in and get in the ring on Wednesdays.
A Tudor Rebel boxing match.
Dude.
Yeah.
That
sell.
would sell.
That'll
Sell.
sell. Talk about like Z celebrity, like Z celebrity pay-per-view match. That would
Yes,
get, like dozens.
Next
of
time you
people
guys
would watch.
disagree on a book, that's how you figure it out.
there you go.
Yes.
The person has to agree. Like, if I win the boxing match, Austin has to, from there on, say that Wheel of Time is a 5-star series.
Yeah.
Oh,
Exactly.
I could never.
I will say, I really hope they bring back bare knuckle boxing.
Oh my gosh.
That is
That'll sell.
that's my personal hot take with like the gloves make it both more dangerous and also less exciting.
It's fair. Yeah. The bare knuckle definitely leans into like a more brutal experience of a
Oh,
cage
yeah.
fight. Yeah.
It looks brutal. Like, you get all like the blood, but actual concussions go way down because people aren't hitting as hard, yet you're getting all of the for the
Gore.
audience, I think it's more entertaining, and then for the fighters, it's safer. For they're not going to get head trauma from it.
You've
We might
convinced
need
me.
to-
Let's bring it back.
We might need to work up an email. I'm not sure to who, but those are really
In a
good
way,
points.
maybe.
Those are good points. We should do that. I was gonna say though, Austin, you mentioned like taking on your the persona of somebody. That only happens to me if it's like a mysterious character. All the other characters, I'm usually like, whatever. And then if I read a mysterious character, I'm like, I should be more mysterious. Like, if you guys read Kaz Brecker in the Six of Crows duology, he's just like this mysterious, cool guy who wears like a top hat. And I was like,
Oh,
that's
that's why you
cool.
started wearing top hats?
Yeah.
I did have a fedora phase, which should come back. One day they will come back, and then I already have pictures ready to go for that time period. But I digress.
I thankfully I had my fedora phase in high school, but it coincided of like the fedora only went on when I was like playing the sax at a concert. You know, like thin black tie, fedora, saxophone is the most marginally accepted time to wear a fedora.
Yeah.
That feels
Outside
like a
of
good
it,
time.
no. That was okay.
Yeah, I was wearing it at the mall to go get a pretzel.
That's not a good look.
It wasn't. It was not at all. I got a lot of looks, and at the
Yeah.
time I was like, I'm working this fedora, and I'm mysterious. But in reality, people were like, what the hell is happening with him?
I would be down with capes coming back. That's
Oh,
That's what I
so
really want.
funny. Oh my god.
love it. I'm not brave enough. I don't have the moral. I don't have the social strength to bring
you,
back the cape.
Do
But
you own a cape and you look at it in your closet like today's the day? No, I can't do it.
in a shrine has its own.
Yeah.
Just one day.
Yeah.
One day, like Henry Cavill is just gonna be rocking a cape.
If anyone
He's
can
gonna
do
start
it,
the trend.
oh.
if anyone can get that ball rolling, that's our kid.
It's Henry Cavill. Oh, absolutely.
Dude, Henry Cavill and like if the Thor, all of those characters, if they just kind of got together, like we're gonna make capes a thing. We're gonna dedicate a whole year of looking ridiculous, but we're gonna change the culture and just do that. Like just all the hot Hollywood guys wear capes for a year. I want to see how that plays out.
Capes would
Oh,
go
I think it
crazy.
takes over.
Yeah.
Yeah. You put Ryan Gosling in a cape,
Oh, yep.
everybody's wearing a cape.
hmm
Yeah, I used to own one. I thought Joe was gonna say something about this.
I was going to,
Yeah.
but then you didn't bring it up, so I was like, maybe I'll
Yeah,
just leave it
yeah,
He's
alone.
embarrassed
But
by his cape.
When we lived together in college, I had a cape, and I don't know why, but it was after, if we would like go out for some drinks the night before, the day after, that was cape day. So I would just throw on my cape, and if we went to the grocery store or to go buy food, I was Batman that day.
it was
He was
insane.
like,
He had the
Just
cape.
after
Did you wear
working.
fedora with the cape too?
No, that would be too much. People would
too
wouldn't know how
That's
to
too-
react. to
That's the
something
line.
like that.
Yeah.
That's the line. Only one.
Pro tip: the closest you can get to socially acceptable cape, closest you're gonna find, is it's a rainy day, like downpour rain. You're wearing a suit. What do you wear? You wear a trench coat down the links. Then you walk inside. You don't know where to put it. You take your arms out of the sleeves and you just put the trench coat over your shoulders as you're walking into like an opera building or wherever event you're at. That's like you're close to the cape.
Now that
That's just-
looks cool.
Yeah,
I
that
don't
makes
know.
me
As
feel
close
like
as you
I'm
can
a
find it.
LA noir detective. Like someone, give me the facts right now.
Yeah.
I have a hunch.
There's an anime that me and Joe have watched called Tokyo Revengers, and the main character in that wears his cape like that, his jacket, but it's always billowing in the wind, so it looks cooler. It doesn't make any sense that it wouldn't fly off, but man, does it look cool. That's what I would go for.
Yeah, the billowing into the wind is the toughest part to get there, certainly.
Yeah, we're still workshopping that. Maybe some weights in the shoulder pads. Just be exhausted all day.
Thing is, nerd culture. What I'm so happy about. Things have become, honestly, sometimes too acceptable at some convention scene. There's some
true.
cons out there. Questionable attire. like Rich and I, we were at Dragonsteel, which is Brandon Sanderson's big release event for he did When the Truth Book 5 was out in Salt Lake City. Best con ever. Amazing con.
Yeah.
But you even mentioned you were walking around in a cape just for fun. What I like about this little niche we have of a bit of nerd culture, I don't know what you call it, geek nerd culture, whatever it is.
Yeah.
People just more into books. Of a bunch of our friends that we've made just from Parasocial to actually meeting them in person. Like Salty is now a good friend of ours, admin on our Discord server, but he lives 4 hours away. We've hung out with him several times. People like him, we were at the Salt Lake City trip, and Rich had this great takeaway of the art of being weird. This way of people are willing to just be weird enough to where it makes life more fun. Where our buddy Salty was just, I won't mimic it. Was giving the Dune
Mongolian throat singing.
Singing, you know, and it sounded so good. But we were even talking about our friends in real life back home, going, we want our friends to be a little bit weirder. Like, go walk out there with a cape, do the Dune Mongolian screech thing in public, and do a little bit of that. Bring capes back. So we got to walk the walk, is what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm. Let's get all book podcasters wearing capes.
I heard bring capes back, and I
in.
like where your head's at. I
just
ordered
ordered
on Amazon after this.
Honestly,
I just ordered 10.
If you wore a cape, I think you could take the eagle. I think you could.
That's what I'm missing.
That's the
That's the
difference.
thing. Then it's a tool. You use the cape like a net, and you can grab it and tie it up in your cape.
I'm already picturing all the ways I can use this cape. I'm in a bowling league, and just imagine bowling a ball and then flipping the cape afterwards to walk back. That's picturesque. That's pretty cool. But then I'm gonna knock down like 4 pins and be like, "What's up with this guy?"
Yeah, the second you roll a gutter ball. Cape's
Get this off of me.
The amount of style that has fallen away of like now the only acceptable hat is baseball hats. You know, like there used to be so many different types of hats men could wear, and now like we got one. There's one style of hat. Can't wear.
Yep.
If you wear like the flat cap, like the cabbie, you're like, oh, what are you in one of the Peaky Blinders? It's like, no, it's a hat. Can't wear a fedora. Can't wear a top hat. Can't wear
beanies.
God.
Beanies are acceptable.
Beanies are, but they're hot. Like
They are hot.
Yeah.
Like,
Down here in Florida, it's not happening.
it's not like it's beanie and baseball cap. That's sad choices.
Do you remember
Cowboy
the beanie
hats?
baseball cap hybrid from the early 2000s? We gotta bring those back. Those were sick.
You have to make a
Oh,
music
yeah.
video if you wear that.
Yeah, be
do
a boy
remember that.
band.
Yeah, absolutely.
The cowboy hat's going to bring up questions if you wear the cowboy hat, though. People are going to be like, where'd you park your horse?
Yeah.
You're right.
Oh no, I like going hiking because I have my cowboy hat that's like, you know, large rim. It's actually good for hiking because it covers the back of your neck. Like it looks socially acceptable to do that. That's the thing. You just need to do hobbies and things where it's socially acceptable to wear your fantasy outfit of desire.
Exactly.
If you like your cowboy boots, you just have to be a cowboy now. Yeah, that's what you have to do.
You really have to lean
Go
into
to rodeos.
Yeah. Lean into the apparel that you want to wear.
I think bowling in capes is right there. It's very close.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost.
You gotta give it a
People are
try.
gonna judge you for the bowling. You might as well commit to the cape. You know, like
Actually, it'd be a better conversation. They wouldn't even pay attention to the 40 that I bowl in total. It'd be like, that guy's wearing a cape. Don't pay attention to the score.
He's got to have some sort of powers or something.
Oh, God.
Oh, that's very funny. All right, guys. Well, this has been great. We don't have anything else. Do you guys have anything else?
last thing.
Yeah.
After this whole conversation, you mentioned Tainted Cup. What book do you guys recommend to both of us? What do you think we should read?
Ooh, that's a good
The
question.
Percy Jackson series is really underrated.
I heard
That
Heroes
you-
of Olympus.
It's gonna be
so
tough
fun.
to think of one that you haven't read. Have you read the Witcher series?
No, we haven't.
Great
Neither of
series.
us read.
I was bummed that they made the show. The first season of the show was good, but the books are great. The ending is good. It's pretty good from start to finish. You know the picture of the horse drawing online where it's like chapters 1 through 6 and it's like a good picture of a horse and then it's like the last and it's like a bad picture of a horse. I don't know if I'm doing a good job
Verbal
describing
meme.
it.
Yeah.
Verbal meme.
100%.
The whole series is like a good picture of a horse. That's the way I'll describe it to you guys. It's good.
That's a fantastic analogy. That's the most unique analogy. I'm
gonna go with that. Oh my God! Wait, taking all that away. Have you read the City of Brass trilogy?
No.
Oh man, I'm throwing that one into
That
the
was gonna
hat.
be the one I recommended.
Dude, that's
You
what I was
stole
gonna
it.
say. Damn.
It is a fantastic series by S.A. Chakraborty, Shannon Chakraborty. 3 books done. There's a novella too, but it is amazing. Definitely that one.
Well, we definitely needed our bro pick recommendation. You know, we get too many of these. Like, oh, you should read Pride and Prejudice. Oh, you should read like this fancy.
Yep.
G.K. Chesterton. No, we need our bro pick.
Yeah, just a book you know what you're gonna get when you sit down and read it. Those are 2.
Something
those
that falls between bro and maybe classic. The Sun Also Rises by Ernest Hemingway is one of my
Fantastic.
all-time books. Yeah, if you haven't read it, definitely worth a read. It's not sci-fi or fantasy really, but yeah, Ernest Hemingway is what got me into reading, like in high school when we were forced to read it. So, highly recommend.
Where's Joe? What did you do with the Joe I know?
What?
Talking Hemingway.
I say, well, actually, this is on one of our lost tape episodes. I name dropped that book, and
lovely
but
story.
no one heard it because I wasn't recording the audio of my own voice.
Before we break, same question to you guys. Besides Sanderson, because we will get around to Sanderson eventually. It's like a must. But any other books?
Oh,
I would
you got
say-
one top of your head?
Top of my head is the Sun Eater series by Christopher Rocchio.
Yeah.
That is some sci-fi goodness right there. I
Okay.
would say first book is fine. Get to second book. Just pull through. Understand it's very... The promises made in the first book are delivered in the second.
Okay.
So if you're not a big fan of the first book, give the second book a shot. That's all I say about it.
Mhm. Okay.
But then after that,
You're right.
awesome.
I gotta say, I don't know if this is exactly just we're going off this bro vibe. There's a major moments in this book, and it's a standalone as well, so it's one and done.
We love
that.
The Lions of Al Rasan. The Lions of Al Rasan has these 2 dudes. They're dudes, and I'll caveat this with
Those are men. Like
they're men, and I'll caveat it with it's written by Guy Gavriel Kay. The prose is very purpley. It's not crazy purpley, but it's more poetic. It's not just straight Red Rising, boom, boom, boom. But it gives you. It has I'll even say top 3 scene in a book. Top 3 scene alone.
Wow.
It's
Okay.
It's incredible. And Travis, you're a big payoff guy.
Mhm.
It's all in the payoff. It is
Okay.
all in the payoff.
Love that.
And
Payoff's gonna be huge.
yeah, payoff is there. There is no.
Oh, yeah.
I will stand by. There's no better ending to a book I've read. It is that phenomenally written, where he both perfectly constructs the plot to where the payoff in the end is both a. I hate hyping you guys up because then you're. Oh,
I'm excited.
what's this Nirvana I'm missing out on? But really to push the book on you guys, and also going with very low expectations, so you do that. That's what I'd recommend.
Okay.
Okay.
I know we keep just throwing too many books at you, but I just
yeah.
was thinking to myself,
Please do.
a bro recommendation. You-
Oh yeah.
If you haven't already, you got to check out Dungeon Crawler Carl.
Oh yeah.
That is
But it's on my TVR.
get the audiobook by Jeff Hayes.
Okay.
That's essential. That's an essential part to it. Is the audiobook is fantastic. Jeff Hayes is a master at his craft. It is that he does voices. His voices are amazing. It's a bros book.
Oh, that
So,
sounds
Do you
awesome.
guys know?
We might have to check this one out. What is it?
You guys, lit RPG. Do you guys know what that is?
Mm-mm.
Literature RPG. It's a book written like a game, a role. So you level up your character, and the main character, the main protagonist, gets stats and gets abilities and levels up through the book. So that might be a little jarring if you haven't read something like that. But it's the best of the lit RPGs you'll see out there, and it as the books go on, it gets less intense about just the leveling up, and there's actually great story in there. So that might be jarring. But
Okay.
the whole concept is chapter 1 is this guy Carl is on Earth, and all of a sudden he's chasing his ex-girlfriend's cats out of their house because not chasing it out. The cat runs out of the house. He's chasing it to get his ex-girlfriend's cat so it doesn't run off. Turns around, every building, every car, every structure flattens. Everything's just completely flattens in the entire world, and these portals pop up everywhere. And there's this announcement from space saying, "Hey, you have a choice: try to survive on Earth or join the game," because these aliens invade Earth and make humans play in this game of dungeon crawling. And so that's the whole book, is then the aliens invade. How do you survive this twisted game they're giving you? And good luck, Carl. And,
Yeah,
and
fantastic.
Your ex-girlfriend's cat. So
Oh, we gotta
that-
read
chapter,
that.
chapter 1. Yeah.
That sounds fantastic.
Yeah, it sounds
okay.
something we
That
would
agree.
just jumped up there to the top of the list.
Imagery for you is he runs outside to get his ex-girlfriend's cat in his boxers with hearts on them.
Mhm.
He has like hearts on his boxers, and he's wearing a leather jacket. That's all he wears this whole
The
book.
whole book.
Yeah.
He's stuck with it.
Oh, this book sounds awesome.
The imagery,
Yeah.
Really fun.
it looks
That's
great.
awesome.
It's really funny. Also by like several books in, it's like really interesting too. Like the characters, you really get invested in them. So highly recommend. The 7th book just released this month, which we've been waiting for. Like
Yes.
this is like the book. Like it's been
Okay.
building for this long. I have no idea what's going to happen afterward, but we've been waiting since book 1 for this one, and I'm so excited for it.
This is a great sales pitch.
Yeah,
So
I'm so
very
excited.
excited.
Yeah, I can't wait
Yeah.
to read it.
I just bought 6 different versions of the book.
Oh my
Thank you
God.
for having us on. This has been
Yeah.
this was. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you guys so
Oh
much
my
for
God,
coming
thank you guys.
on. This has been a ton of fun.
Everybody can find you guys at like 2 to Ramble on everything.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, perfect.
Perfect. Yeah, thanks again, guys. This was awesome.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Bye, everyone.
Peace.